If you've clicked on this video, then there's a 90-something% chance that you already know all about Sonic Forces. How stiff and frustrating the controls are, how boring and bizarrely short the level design was, how the story was just pure and utter schlock, how the music was, well, okay, the music once again banged. But yeah, we all know this. So I'm going to be looking at things from a bit of a different angle today. Ladies and gentlebirds, allow me to explain why 2017's Sonic Forces, the last mainline Sonic game we've had for the past 5 years, is the biggest slap in the face to one Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik since, well, ever. But, I hear you say, how the heck can that be? This is the game where Eggman, wins. How can a game with such a grand occasion for the Doctor be so spectacularly bad for him? Well, I'm just gonna jump right into it. And remember, I'm speaking with the man being not only one of my favourite characters in the franchise, but one of my personal favourite villains of all time. I love the guy, I really do. But Forces really doesn't. Right, okay, let's begin from the obvious point. The beginning. To be specific, the very, very start of the game, and we don't actually start out with Sonic and the gang, no, we start with Eggman. Actually a very good step, I'll give it that, considering this is the time where he finally, wins. With that being said, yikes. What is this cutscene exactly? Well, let's play it out. It's him saying,
Sonic, how I hate him. And all of that loathing has been focused into this invincible instrument of destruction. Every defeat, every humiliation at the Hedgehog's hands will be returned 1,000-fold by my unstoppable creation. This is my dream come true.
Look, I love Mike Pollock as much as the next guy, I really do. But watching this again, it just sounds like he's trying to get through the scene as fast as he possibly can. It's probably the direction, to be fair, but this whole thing just feels so bland and completely unimpressive. There's nothing grandiose or actually menacing about this at all. They have to straight up have Orbot and Cubot tell you things are bad. Not to mention the fact that he's hyping up Infinite so much, to himself and no one more, only to switcheroo at the very end with saying the Death Egg robot, I hate the name of that thing, just call it anything else, surpasses him. I'm not sure what's going on there, whatever. But this somewhat dull opening, especially when compared to openings of Sonic's past, I don't even have to name them, is sadly the least of this character's worries right now. Because we've just got to one of the most frustrating moments, as an Eggman fan, of this entire game. Okay, so, let me set the scene. After decades of their rivalry, both in and out of the game universe apparently, Eggman gets to watch the Blue Blur get absolutely beaten the crap out of in front of his face by his newest recruit in the power of the Phantom Ruby. This is bigger than anything he did in the classics, Adventure, or the vast majority of other games, and is arguably more than his victories in Adventure 2 and Unleashed. This is a win fair and square. Sonic is down and at his mercy. Eggman is finally, no two ways about it, finally taken down Sonic, potentially for good. And what reaction do we get from the megalomaniac during all this?
Nice.
No laughter, nothing to say for his longtime enemy, not even a hint of gloating. Come on guys, this is his moment. This is Eggman we're talking about. Even the more toned down Adventure and 06 Eggman would have had a witty line or two for this. But no, he gets pretty much nothing here. Because don't worry, it gets worse. What's worse than getting pretty much nothing? Getting absolutely nothing. What can I even say? This is a game that has its entire premise centred around Dr. Eggman taking over the world, and has what is essentially the entire takeover shown as two short sentences on a plain black background. Just like with the defeat of Sonic a few seconds ago in game time, this should be Eggman's biggest, grandest moment. Far bigger than unleashing Chaos or Solaris or Dark Gaia, even bigger than enslaving alien worlds or even creating Eggman Land. This is him actually taking over the entire Earth. And we just get nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not even a...
Nice.
This time, there's quite literally nada. Zip. Zero. Where's any of his own forces wreaking havoc? Where's the Eggman Empire? Where's our good doctor having the time of his life, finally accomplishing what he's been trying to do since 1991? There's no effort here, no care, or maybe not enough time and budget. That's probably close to the truth, let's be honest. And this problem persists, believe it or not. Okay, chances are you do. Next up, well, we don't see our boy for a good few levels after that, though I would just like to point out that a random Zavok clone is sent to, well, I assume kill the blue blur. Seems super anticlimactic for Eggman, especially after 6 months of captivity, but I'll let it slide. Maybe he was suddenly trying to be efficient. But the next time we see him is, say it with me now, Green Hill Zone speaking with Infinite. The majority of their conversation is ridiculous exposition. Yes, I know it's a Sonic game, but yikes, it's bad. The only interesting tidbit is when Infinite goads him for losing to Sonic so much after Eggman berates him for not finishing off the blue blur, after he kept him alive in captivity for 6 months, I might add, but of course that's never expanded on, so let's just move on. After the boss fight with Classic Sonic, Robotnik gives Classic, who he never reacts to being here outside of...
What? You?
By the way, until their countdown, which never really comes up again. And it's only around here that the second issue that plagues most of this game, Eggman most of all, becomes really apparent. There's just no spectacle. As the new ruler of 99.9% of the entire world, the one whose victory caused Tails to go missing or lose it, depending on your translation, boasts and talks about how he's going to annihilate them all. They look as if they couldn't care less, their body language close to get a load of this guy, rather than the excitement or even fear we as the audience should be experiencing. This is less the fault of Ivo and more of the game as a whole, but still badly impacts him. Nobody takes him seriously, even in what should be his greatest hit yet. Next time we see Egghead is several levels later reacting to the Death Egg's destruction in the Green Hill Zone. Look, I don't care if this is a nitpick because it just makes the game seem so much smaller and even more uncaring. Why is Eggman just hanging around in the middle of Green Hill? Where are his massive bases? He should be on a throne right now, not hovering around in was essentially a sandy wasteland. Other than that, scene is fine, though it's frustrating that what is clearly being set up as a rivalry between Eggman and Infinite gets dropped altogether with zero resolution. Now, believe it or not, we're actually a good 70-80% of the way through the game at this point, and this is literally all the doc we've got so far, but they can pull it back, right? Right? Next up, the city. And this cutscene so far is actually Eggman's best. Unfortunately, it's hit by issues that plague the game at large. See, him learning from his mistakes and creating backups for his backups is legitimately great, and what the game needed more of. And after sending Sonic into the Null Void, well, there's not a hint of celebration from the guy, but nah, that's a given at this point. His method here is quick and to the point, which I'll happily take as him finally taking things seriously. That being said though, of course, there's many issues. For one, it still feels like the writers are trying to get through the cutscene as quickly as humanly possible, practically stopping Eggman mid-speech, and apparently he just lets Tails go? Again? I get he wants to end it in one fell swoop with his son plan, but the guy's literally a sitting duck. Whatever. Maybe he just knew how useless Tails was in this game too. Next up, we actually have Eggman's best singular moment in this game for me, period. And it's really not much. Here, just floating in and telling the heroes just how hopeless their situation really is. It doesn't matter how many robots they pop, how many clones they take down, they can't fight the sun. They're done. Boom, this is the end. I freaking love the calm finality of how he says this line, even if the captions aren't doing it any favours. Also not doing this moment any favours is how half the cast seems to be smiling as they look towards the thing that's about to destroy them. Animators, you guys good? Blink twice if you need help. Again, it's a budget and a spectacle problem, but not entirely related to Eggman, so I'll let it slide. After this, there's not much at note for a while. Eggman gets pissy at your custom character and Tails, letting Infinite fight before extracting him, I think? But Infinite's not even worth a video on, sadly. And then gloating a little more at Sonic about how his plan's just gone into overdrive. It's perfectly serviceable. After that, we get to the final boss, and both Eggman's last appearance and his last words in the game. Again, this is serviceable, if dull. Yes, Confident Eggy is great, but this is literally his last and final trump card against the entire resistance. Couldn't he have just had a smidgen of, I don't know, desperation? He finally won and it's about to be taken away from him, but maybe that's more of a nitpick. And with that, well, we've covered pretty much everything about Eggman the game has to throw at us. You can look at his complete and utter silence during the final battle as creepy, or lazy, or whatever. I'm not entirely sure what side I fall on at this point. But just because we've covered the Doctor's direct portrayal doesn't mean that's all I have issues with. Oh no, I wouldn't be making a video if that was the case. Maybe I'm stretching too far, but for now, let's have a look at the army of Eggman in this game. Why? Why is that important? Well, this is what he uses to conquer the world. This armada was used to drive Shadow, Silver, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, the Chaotix, and many more into hiding and straight up trash the best character in the series, Fight Me, Omega. So let's see just what he brought to the table. I will refrain from touching the can of worms that is the returning villains in Infinite right now, but I'll leave it at, like the game itself, they were a confused, trying way too hard but at the same time way not enough mess. And instead focus on the disaster of Eggman's robots. There are two new robots that I like in this game. One of them is the final boss, not the Nega Wisp Respin, the giant Death Egg robot that really shouldn't be called the Death Egg robot, and the Egg Walkers. Yeah, these scrunklies. They look very sleek, and purple and black and red always go well together. They just fit really nice in the rest of the army, and yeah, they're cool. I hope they stick around, very fitting designs for the rest of the Empire. The rest, just, good god, how did Eggman take over the world with this? How many higher-ups were asleep at gun that afternoon, and how uncreative were the designers on that particular day? They are literally just spheres with limbs. I'm sorry if this feels like nitpicking, and it probably is, but Eggman's army has always had fun with its designs. Eggpon's making up a majority, of course, but Heroes and Shadow brought their own variations, plus Unleashed with its Dark Gaia creatures, and the Adventure and OSX games with pretty much entirely new enemy varieties. Then again, maybe I would see them in a better light if they did literally anything to you in-game. Obviously, there are games where the badniks hold even less of a presence. Colours and Lost World come to mind. But those weren't meant to be an army that steamrolled over the entire world. And then, because we need them, because we have classic Sonic here, we have to have the usual array of bright, colourful classic enemies that don't match up with the vast variety of their bots here. Even the towering behemoths destroying cities in the background are just repainted Death Egg robots. Eggman pilots the Egg Dragoon again. The Death Egg is back again. Just so little creativity and passion and heart and budget. And the ships in the background of the fortress, is that the Egg Fleet? Is the other ships the Resistance forces? We never fight them or fight up there, and we never see them fighting each other, so we can only guess. I can't even say the game wanted to have its cake and eat it, because they had to replace the milk and eggs with water and sugar with rice because of the budget constraints. See now why, despite this being his most important outing in over a decade, it's such a slap in the face? I'm not asking for Dr. Frickin' Eggman to be a deep and complex character or one that strikes fear into the heart of the player. I want more than the absolute bare minimum, or whatever this is, you know? Frontiers, you beautiful baby, please, we await you with open arms. Here's hoping.